You know, I'm just now finding out that Cole Beasley has a rap album. What is up, everybody? My name is Advance, and this is Advance Sports Talk. So, yeah, as I just said, Cole Beasley. You know, the white boy that lines up opposite of Stefon Diggs. I knew something was up with him. He's a little bit too good at wide receiver. I don't know. We might need to do a 23andMe and find out where he descended from, because that white boy can go. But in any case, wild card round. First off, let me apologize. I know this video is a little bit late. Getting ready to watch the divisional matchups, but hey, I was on vacation enjoying my birthday week. I was living the authentic country experience. That means no internet. So, and you know what? I'm more enlightened. I am more enlightened because of it. So, with that being said, let's get into these sports breakdowns. As I said before, the Buccaneers was gonna steamroll. Well, no, I'm not gonna say they steamrolled because, well, no, they was dominating. They had a bad third quarter, but I'd rather them have a bad third quarter than a shitty fourth quarter. True to what I said before, Chase Young didn't get. He might have gotten near Tom Brady like once or twice. You know, just enough to give him a pat on the back. For a good job on getting the ball out of the pocket before he could get to him. And the 2 sacks that the offensive line gave up did not go to him. So there you have it. Same thing with a few weeks back with Aaron Donald. Like, yeah, Brady might have got sacked, but he ain't get sacked by Aaron Donald. Getting into this, Mike Evans, 119 yards receiving, leading receiver. Leonard Fournette took up the reins as the leading rusher when Rojo hurt himself in warm-ups. He sustained a quad injury. Of course, I was in the midst of traveling, so I didn't have time to change him on my DraftKings lineup. So I missed out on 10 stacks. But at least I got 20. I'm happy for that, but I'm still mad about the 10 stacks. Pretty much nothing. There was nothing really surprising. Everybody kind of knew that the Bucs was going to win. So it was just a case of how well was the defense going to do against the Buccaneers offense. So what they did do, and this kind of shook it up for like a couple quarters, the Redskins, as I said in my previous video, that Alex Smith is working off of a leg and a half. So he wasn't going to be able to keep up with the Buccaneers pass rush. What they did was they started Taylor Heineken as his nickname was. So he was actually a backup in the XFL. See, that's what they've been doing this year. They've been sliding a lot of these XFL players in here. But if you don't watch XFL, you don't know to watch out for them. But I actually didn't see this guy play, but the guy that was ahead of him was Jordan Ta'amu. So they ran like a very Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson-esque offense where, you have to watch out for not only the running backs and the receivers, but the quarterback as well. And, this kid actually broke out on a few runs, a few like 15, 19, 20-yard runs that kind of caught the Bucs off guard, but they wasn't getting nothing else. Once we picked up on that rhythm, shut them down. Fourth quarter, nothing that they can do. Buccaneers sealed the victory, 31-23, thus moving on to the divisional round. The Indianapolis Colts versus the Buffalo Bills, and this game was also pretty good. Somewhat of a shootout. Ultimately, Buffalo is 2 stacked, and the Colts have Phillip Rivers. So, yeah. The Bills ended up pulling out the victory, 27-24. Stefon Diggs getting 128 yards receiving. Josh Allen throwing for 324 and 2 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers throwing for 309 and 2 touchdowns. Next, the LA Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks. This was actually the one game that I believe I got wrong. I predicted every other winner except this one. The Rams beat the Seahawks 30-20. I really thought that Russell Wilson was going to come alive, but believe it or not, this actually didn't have anything to do, it didn't have much to do with either quarterback. I mean, Metcalf, he had 96 yards receiving, and that was pretty much it. He was the only standout. Lockett was the second one behind him with 48. But this secret weapon though, Cam Akers rushing for 131 yards. Jared Goff threw for 155 yards and 1 touchdown. Russell Wilson threw for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns, but 1 key interception. So I guess that must have been the difference in the game. And it allowed the Rams to get the victory, 30-20. So that was the Saturday game. Moving on to the Sunday games. Baltimore Ravens versus the Tennessee Titans. And I know they was waiting for this. They marked this on their calendar as soon as the matchup was made. I mean, they didn't have to because it was a week out, but still. Yeah, so the Ravens, this is looking like this was pretty much a very defensive game. So again, like either quarterback didn't really do much. I mean, except Lamar Jackson rushing for 136 yards. So once again, being their lead rusher, he threw for 179 yards, 1 interception. Ryan Tannehill threw for 165 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So you see a lot of these, some of these playoff games, a lot of them have like low quarterback stats. So the reason why that is because during the main season, it's always like, all right, do what we got to do to get there. So if we got to like throw for 1 million yards, then we gonna do it. But in the playoffs, it's a completely different story. You gotta actually do a game plan and defense and all that. You gotta manage the game. So it's so yeah, that's why I figured I'd throw that in there, because you know this was 2 games where both quarterbacks had under 200 yards passing, but yet there was still a victory. So the Ravens ended up getting the victory 20-13. Derrick Henry rushing for an all-time low of 40 yards. Hollywood Brown finally reaching his prominence. Me and one of my homies was talking earlier this week, and we were saying like, yeah, it's good that, you know, he finally starting to live up to his potential. So 109 yards receiving, caught 7 out of 9 targets. AJ Brown for the Titans, 83 yards receiving, caught 6 out of 10. All right, Ravens got the victory 20-13. Now, Chicago Bears versus the New Orleans Saints. Chicago, you had one job, but Mitch Trubisky is your quarterback, so you couldn't get it done. The Saints beat the Bears 21-9. Drew Brees throwing for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trubisky throwing for 199 yards and 1 touchdown. It doesn't seem like they could get David Montgomery going on the ground. Alvin Kamara had 99 yards rushing. And moving on to the main event of the weekend, Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. What did I say? What did I say? Did anybody remember what I said last week? The Steelers have already been, they've been exposed the last 3 out of 4 weeks, or a couple weeks before that. I think Steelers is going to be a one and done, even if they get a home game. Does anybody remember what I said? One and done. One and done. They had to fight too hard. They spent everything that they had. They ain't have nothing to burn in the playoffs. Cleveland stomped the Steelers 48-37. All right, so Jarvis Landry, 92 yards receiving, caught 5 out of 8 targets. Juju Smith-Schuster finally returning to prominence. 157 yards receiving. Caught 13 out of 19 targets. Then was trying to prove that he can throw the ball. Devontae, hold up. Sorry. Devontae, that's a whole nother video. Deontay Johnson, 117 yards receiving, caught 11 targets. Big Ben, proving that he is officially Matt Ryan status. Throwing for 501 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, but couldn't get the job done. Probably because of those 4 interceptions. Baker Mayfield throwing for 263 and 3 touchdowns. The strategy of the Browns is exactly what I said it was. Load up Nick Chubb, load up Kareem Hunt, and run it down their throat. Steelers couldn't do nothing. They couldn't deal with it. Thus fulfilling the prophecy. Steelers are out. 1 and done. Ben should retire. I think this might be Mike Tomlin's last year. If not, he's definitely in make or break next year. There's already been a whole slew of firings this week, so all of which that I wasn't able to cover, but we're gonna get to it. All right, now we're gonna get into the matchups for the divisional rounds. First up, we got the LA Rams versus the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay has had they got the top seed. They was able to squeeze in there and snatch it away from the Saints. So they got the top seed. They got the week of rest. So basically, what this is all going to boil down to is Aaron Rodgers versus Jared Goff. And quite frankly, I got Aaron Rodgers and the Packers maybe not destroying the Rams, because the Rams got a solid defense, but I do know that Jared Goff will be the difference in the game, depending on which Jared Goff we get. Are we gonna get Super Bowl Jared Goff, or are we gonna get classic Jared Goff? Who knows? Even though they do got Cam Akers, who seems to be a really good running back. Then they got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Tyler Higbee. So they got a decent receiving core, but if without a quarterback that has this, it ain't gonna work. Packers got a squad on their own side. They got they got Aaron Jones, who is very reliable with the ball. They got Aaron Jones. They got Devontae Adams. Of course, his name is Devontae. He's a beast. We got MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Robert Tonyan, who sometimes he'll surprise you with a big game. Alan Lazard. So yeah, this is definitely going to look to be a shootout. Then you got the Cleveland Browns versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and I really don't know what to expect from this, because even though I know the Chiefs have heavy hitters, they got Tyreek Hill, they got Travis Kelce, and whichever receiver decides they want to go off after that, whether it's Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. So yeah, this could be an interesting matchup. It's like the Browns are such an enigma. I don't know. Like it's the Chiefs, they haven't really put on much of a performance. Like they was held in check by the Falcons. They almost lost to them 17-14. Remember, this is an offense that's capable of scoring like well beyond 30. They lost to the Chargers, but that was when they rested their starters. But even still, that could also have a negative effect, because now they've had 2 weeks of inactivity. Unless they was out there staying busy. I don't know. Between the Browns and the Chiefs, I would have to say that the Chiefs are going to move on. They got too much playoff experience. But who knows? The Browns could prove to be more hungry and move on to the next round. So that's going to be a game worth watching. The Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm just going to cover this right now. Every game this week is going to be an interesting matchup because, you know, when pretty much we weeded out all the, you know, all the weaklings. You know, this is where the, you know, this is where the big boys play. So we got, it's pretty much Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. Stefon Diggs is going to prove to be a real big problem, as well as Cole Beasley, because what's worse than a team that has one breakout receiver is a team that has two. And Cole Beasley was just 33 short of making 1,000 yards. And Stefon Diggs clearly got it. The Ravens offense doesn't really focus much on passing because, you know, more often than not, Lamar Jackson is going to keep it, and he only passes just to kind of keep the defense guessing. Or or he might just hand it off to J.K. Dobbins. They got Buffalo as 2.5-point favorites, but I'm going to go with the Ravens. You know, I'm from Baltimore, hometown pride. All right, let's get it done. And that's really hard for me to say because I like Stefon Diggs. But in any case, now, last, most certainly not least, my Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. And I had thought about it, and I was saying like, dang, this team swept us. I was really hoping to face them in the championship round, you know, where they got, you know, they might have gotten beaten up a little bit more, or if Chicago would have just bumped them off altogether, I would have been happy with that. But nevertheless, here we are. When I look at it, it's really every game, every team in the playoffs is a bad matchup for Tampa on the NFC side, because when you look at it, we had Chicago, who beat us, the Rams, who beat us, the Saints, who swept us, they beat us twice, you know, and then the Packers, even though we thoroughly destroyed the Packers in the regular season, you could just chalk that up to a bad game by Aaron Rodgers. Because after that, he just started playing like he had a fire lit under his ass. And that's how they ended up stealing the top seed from the Saints. So, I don't know, who knows? But they got them listed as 3-point favorites. But I think that the Saints are going to be so overconfident because they swept us that this is going to allow the Buccaneers to catch them off guard. Because any smart, logical person wouldn't go in with the same game plan that they had before. And it was only really one of those games where the Saints really had our number, where they like thoroughly dominated us, and that was the one later in the season. The very first game that we played, even with no preseason and no OTAs and all that stuff, that game was still pretty close. Yeah, they only beat it. They beat us 34-23, and we proved that, you know, as long as we don't let the game get away from us, you know, we can stay in it. So this is what we got to do. We got to get a score in the first quarter. We got to get a score in the second quarter. So every time they score, we got to score. And I'm not talking about just kicking field goals. No, we need touchdowns. We need touchdowns because as Ohio State found out, kicking a field goal is not going to keep pace with a good offense. But like I said, that's a whole nother video that we're going to get into. All right, so that's it for this breakdown. Glad to be back. You know, I'm gonna start doing this more consistently. Of course, I'm gonna be out watching the game, so hey, why not? My name is Advance. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on everything, my social media. I'm at Advance110 on Facebook. I'm sorry, at Advance110 on Instagram, at Advance Sports Talk on Facebook, at Advance Plays on Facebook, Advance Plays or VMX 9999 on YouTube. This is Advanced Perception, where we have a cosmic level of thinking. Like, share, subscribe on everything. I'm out.